voice on the stage over here. Hello. All right. We're going to get started here. I apologize for being a little late here on the class. We got some guests, students. They're also coming to learn about Sikhism. So we're going to start our class just like every other day, and I'm going to get you guys to lead it. We fold our hands with our smiles on our faces. We say, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. And our today's class is going to be a little bit Today's class is going to be a mix. It's going to be a little bit at a higher level for some of you, but I do need to accommodate our guests there too, so just keep that in mind. Don't get bored, and all those topics that we're going to discuss, we're going to come back on this one and next week, and we're going to really break it down for you guys too. And some of you seen some of those scriptures and the details even last year. So again, welcome to the Gurdwara. And thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule here to come in and learn about Sikhism. There's just the basics we're going to cover. And I'm going to be asking these guys here, so can you tell me who's a Sikh? Honey. A person who listens to Gurbani, understands it, and then what? Makes a commitment to follow it. And what is Gurbani? Honey, where is that Gurbani? Where do you get that? Yeah. Guru Granth Sahib. The holiest scriptures, the writings in the Guru Granth Sahib Ji is referred to as Gurbani. थोड़ी माफी करेंगे कि थोड़ी पंजाबी क्योंकि इन्हां दे वास्ते थोड़ी English ज़्यादा बात करें. So the holiest scriptures that's installed on the dais is the true living Guru, the eternal living Guru of the Sikhs. Sikhs do not worship a body. There is no Guru who's in physical form. The Guru is the knowledge. And then who is a Singh and a Kaur? You run across people, every single Sikh has the middle name as Singh, and then the girls have the middle name Kaur. So who's a Singh? Honey? Yeah. The boys. Well, who are those boys? Who lives every moment of their life as per the Gurbani's principle. Gurbani, the scriptures, it literally, Sikhism, I sometimes hesitate to call it a religion, it's a way of life. And the way of life, you get the guidance, the guiding light principles from the scriptures by analyzing those ones, and it's in a poetic form. There are a lot of metaphors used in this one here, so once you decipher those ones, you'll be amazed the kind of examples that are given from day-to-day life. If you're a business person, you only understand the terminology of business. You're given examples from the business community, how they relate to your daily life, how to improve yourself. So when you see a Singh or a Kaur, a Sikh is a person like we defined before. But then there's a bit of an upper echelon here. You always hear about a Khalsa, and we need to define a Khalsa. So before that we do the Singh and a Kaur. And the Singh is a person who lives every moment. There are no exceptions. Every moment of their life as per the guiding principles of Gurbani. Then he takes an oath to uphold these principles, even if that person has to sacrifice his or her life for those guiding principles. And we'll come to those guiding principles in a short amount of time here. Makes a commitment to take Kandidi Paul. That means to get, in English we call it baptized. In Gurbani's term, it's called Amrit. So it becomes immortal. Immortal not in the physical form, but in the spiritual form. A person who's willing to live by the Sikh code of conduct. There's an approved Sikh code of conduct from the highest authority of Sikhism that's implemented across the world for all the Sikhs. It tells the Sikh what his daily life routine should be. When you get up in the morning, what you should read, at least try to understand that part as part of your daily prayers. How do you go about conducting your daily life? If you're getting married, if somebody passed away, how do you handle those? The traditions. That's the Sikh code of conduct. And that is the person I call that graduates from in the Sikhism as a Singh when you're male and a Kaur. And the word Singh means a lion. That means you're fearless at that stage. And Kaur means a princess. So you can see the equality and the respect that's given by the Guru to all the humans. There's gender equality, that's one of the basic principles. So what is the Khalsa Panth then? Beautiful. It's an establishment, it's a community, it's a brotherhood, and it's a sisterhood of who? All the Singhs in? Of course. And it's collectively called? Khalsa Panth. Khalsa means pure. Panth means it's a way of life. So it's literally full of qualities without any evils in your thoughts, in your mind. And that is a Khalsa Panth. And we compare school to Sikhism. So who is the student? A Sikh. Well, I'm glad you guys have memorized all that. And what is the school? This place of worship is the school for a Sikh. Classroom. The holy congregation becomes your classroom. There you go, I don't have to say it. Curriculum is Gurbani, the scriptures. Who is the teacher? The holiest scriptures, Guru Granth Sahib Ji is the teacher, the sole teacher. And how do you pay your fees? It's a time from your life. That's the only thing the Lord has given you that you can offer back. You spend that time to learn the good stuff so you can become a perfect human, perfect citizen. And that is truly a Sikh. Now, why do we call it a Gurudwara? Don't be shy, you can take a guess. Gurudwara, Andy. It's the door. Dwar means door. And Guru is the Guru, the teacher. It's where you come to meet your Guru. It's just like entering a house, you have to enter through a door. And that's exactly what happens when we enter this Gurudwara. This is where a Guru is right there in front of us, so we can come and talk to him and discuss with him. And then we have different levels of education. Elementary was Dharmakhan. The moment you have the thought to become religious, meaning you're joining the kindergarten to that grade 6 school, what I call is the elementary Dharmakhan. These are 5 states of mind that's listed in Gurbani. Then what is the junior high? Gyan Kant. This is where you actually not only have the interest, now you're starting to analyze and gain the knowledge. Gyan. Gyan means knowledge. Kant, that's a stage. High school. Shram Kant. That's when you actually take that knowledge and you put it into practice. Now, you're using that one to do something good for the society. And that's Shram. Shram means you make an effort. Then what's the university? Karma Kant. Now, it's not only you don't have to make an effort, it has become part of your life. It has part of your natural behavior. Now you don't have to think, you do it because it is in your subconscious mind. And that's a karma Kant. Postgraduate. Satchikant. Satchikant Vasad. Nirvikan. This is the state of mind where you become, your union with the Lord happens. You're one with God. Satchikant. And we did this one here quickly. Classroom practice. You come to the school, you always have the teacher telling you something. I'll quickly run through those ones. I know you didn't probably memorize those ones. You listen to Gurmani with focus because you're sitting in the classroom when the scriptures are being analyzed. And one of the things there's a lot of misconceptions among different religions. Sikhism is not about closing your eyes and going into seclusion and giving up the world and not getting married and then just sitting in some dark place and meditating. Not accepted in Sikhism. It's basically day-to-day life and just thinking twice before doing anything. Just making sure it is the right thing and there's somebody that's going to benefit from it and you feel morally that you're doing the right thing. That is Sikhism. It is that simple. Ani, you have a question? It's a lengthy question. We can handle this one here. So he used to go to Huzur Sahib on an annual basis. And this is one of the highest Sikh authorities. There's 5 in Sikhism, and that's one of those ones. It's located in southern India. And then he stopped drinking. Again, I mean, if this is, we're going to handle it afterwards. It's getting a little lengthy. So I do need to give you some examples from Gurmani to explain that. It's literally that he decided to start doing the meditation. That was your question, right? Yeah. And how did that happen? If it's not approved in Sikhism, well, this is some of the things that are happening in Sikhism even today. Even today. They're not as per the code of conduct. It's not as per the teachings of the Guru. There has been a lot of influence from other religions. And we as human beings are always looking for the peace of mind. We're trying to control our mind to the state so we can give up our thoughts. This desire to collect a lot of wealth, be rich, and just a notion there, live the life to the fullest. You can, as a Sikh, but doesn't mean that you have to have fancy cars. I know how many of you actually want to have a Ferrari. There you go. Guruji never said you can't have one. Just don't attach yourself to it. Don't just get so focused that you forget about the good things that you needed to do. You can have all the wealth in the world. We were talking about this one in last night's class. The Guruji said, you can be as rich as you want, and I'll accept you. provided you don't forget the teachings, the guiding principles of Sikhism. You don't forget God as well. There's a purpose that you want, why you were on this planet. And you were given that option to choose your deeds, choose your actions. He gave you that much of the independence. Karmi apu apni. You can choose your actions. But if you chose good ones, you'll be closer to God. You choose the not so good ones, you'll be walking away from God. You're getting farther and farther away. So some of us have chosen to do things that are not approved in Sikhism. Yoga is one of the examples. It's good for health, but it's not part of Sikhism. It's not part of meditation. Yet it's been brought into the Gurdwaras. But those are different topics. We're going to go have this classroom practice. Listen to Gurbani with focus. Read Gurbani with attention to every single word. We were discussing this last night, even in the class here, for all the adults. And how many of us have been doing our daily prayers, the Japji? That's pretty good. But we haven't been taking the time to understand what's written there. We spent that 20 minutes and we just recited, we memorized it, and we're just continuously reading it without even understanding it. Unless we understand it, there's something in it. And once we understand it, then you'll be amazed at the teachings out of those 20 minutes. Discuss Gurbani with others. This is what we do in the satsang, that when we sit in this holy congregation, the whole idea is to get together and discuss something that's going to elevate the other person's lifestyle. Instill good qualities in them. Not because you think those are good, because your guru thinks those are good for you. Contemplate. Always thinking about those. How can I implement those principles in the society, whether we're living in Canada or in India or anywhere else in the world? How can people benefit from those principles? And sing Gurbani Kirtan. Why should we? How many of you actually sing Gurbani Kirtan? Very few. It's the best way to memorize it, and believe me, I learned it last year. And when you sing after understanding it, you can actually be sitting in a state that you don't feel anything else around you. But you have to practice for that. And motivate others to do this one. So what's our homework then? It's a school. There's got to be homework. So what's our homework? Daily practice to change. We discussed this one yesterday. And that made up a word. From, to. And this is so critical in today's world. You know those ones 5 in Punjabi? Which ones? Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar. The first one, Kam, means lust. And it changes into a high moral character. So you're honest to your partner. Anger. You change that into kindness and compassion. Give up anger. Become a kind and a compassionate person. Greed. Don't be greedy. I gotta have this one. And we're talking about having $250 pair of Nikes and Adidas. And yet parents want to spend $20 to get you a set of shoes from Walmart. How many are happy with that? And how many actually want the Nike? There's still a few. We'll change it by the time we finish with this class. Greed. Have a satisfaction. Just respect the fact that your parents are working hard, and it's not easy to spur that kind of money. And it wouldn't matter if you're wearing the Nike as long as those are good, clean clothes. Attachment. Always, it's mine, it's mine. Always grabbing things. Unconditional love. It's my son, it's my daughter, it's my parents, it's my car. Convert that into love, unconditional. It doesn't matter who the person is. I'm here to help you. I'm here to serve you. That is the sixth state of mind. Pride. In other words, it's ego. We change that into self-respect and dignity. And that brings to me one of the 5 Ks that a Sikh wears, and I'm wearing one. And most of the time, people really misunderstood it, and that's called kirpan. And I'm sure you're familiar with this one in kirpan. That's a little sword. The SABHA sword, normally a Sikh should be carrying a 3-foot one. Not practically possible these days. Walking into a shopping center asking for a service or going to the bank to cash a check. You showed up with a sword, I'm pretty sure you're going to raise some eyebrows. But this is, a Sikh wears that all the time. A baptized ones, a khalsa, a SINGH at their core. And this is the reason behind this one here. Pride is changed into self-respect and dignity. Gurmat. It's a combination of 2 words. Gurmat means kindness. An means to maintain your dignity with kindness. So it's a weapon of self-defense. It's not to be used just because you got angry because somebody took your seat or somebody didn't pay your money back. It's not for those reasons. And if you see a Sikh doing this one here, that person from that state, from that moment onwards, is not considered a Sikh anymore. A Sikh is supposed to be humble at all times. And to make the effort to resolve every single issue peacefully. It's only used at the state when you're being oppressed and there is no other option. It's the extreme and the very last option left for you. Not only for your self-defense, but for the defense if you see a senior being mugged, and you try to intervene, and all of a sudden you got 5 thugs beating that person, and you need to get involved, and you must get involved, and that's your duty as a Sikh, and it's expected from you as a baptized Sikh, as a Khalsa. And if that state, in order to protect a person who's being abused, it is the only rightful use of the weapon at that time. And even Canadian laws approve that. It's a self-defense, or the defense of somebody who's helpless. And how many of you actually did this practice here? Pride was P. Anger is A. Greed, G. Attachment was A again. I'm taking the first letters from all those 5 evils that are in our minds. L. And what was that word? And what does that translate into English? Crazy. Crazy. A person that has those 5 evils inside is literally a crazy person. The word pago means who's a mental case. You see people that get angry, look at them. They'll behave like they're just run out of some mental hospital. Isn't that what happens? Now your homework was to try to use the first letters from Punjabi and come up with a word. How many of you actually went home and tried it? And we're going to give you a chance on Monday here to come up with some sort of word, so the acronym, so we can use that to teach our grandparents and our parents. Because sometimes they even forget that. And these were the 5 questions about Sikhism, or a bunch of questions anyway. Who is Waheguru? Waheguru is the word that's used for God in Sikhism. Even though the scriptures, actually the most common word that's used is Ram, means it's imbued in every single part of its own creation. Who is God? Where does he live? When was God born? What is our relationship to God? And why should we worship God? And is God a man or a woman? We're always talking about him all the time. Oh, there we go. We started the debate again. Okay, we'll come to those ones here. The first question was, who is Waheguru? Who's God? And who should we ask first of all? Who is the most suitable to give us that answer? Guru Granth Sahib, our holiest scriptures. Why? Who do we ask? We ask our Satguru. Sat means true, the Guru, the one who is literally true. He won't lie to you. And why do we ask? It says Satguru. Satguru means the Lord. Satguru Disgana. The one who knows Lord entirely. His name is the Satguru, Guru Granth Sahib. That's why we should ask him. And what's the first letter in Sikhism scriptures? I mean, the digit 1. And that is very critical and important to understand. There are religions out there that have 330 million gods and goddesses. We respect everybody else's religion. But Sikhism was a new ideology, new philosophy about religion. Religion is defined as a set of guidelines to turn you into a perfect human being. And since people are fighting over just calling God with different names, some call them Allah, some call them Ram, some call them Waheguru, Damodar, Murari, hundreds and thousands of names. Guruji, he decided to establish or propagate Sikhism, and he said, there's only one Lord. That's the word, the letter, the digit 1 means 1. There's only one Lord, but you can call him with any name you feel like it. You call him God, you call him God, Lord, Vaheguru, Ram, Hari, Allah, Bhagwan. And this is the first word in scriptures, Ik Omkar. Ik means one. Om means he is unique and he's omnipresent. He's everywhere. Kar means he's continuously there at all times and he doesn't change. And this is that first word. And how do we say it? Ik Omkar. Good, you're learning Punjabi now. Those are the 5 qualities. There's only one, he's unique, there's nobody like him. He's everywhere. He's there at all times, and he doesn't change. He wasn't his baby, he's not going to grow old, and he's never going to die. Next word is Satnam. The reason I'm going through this one here, so this is the basis of the whole scriptures. Guru Granth Sahib defines, gives us the definition of the Lord himself, Satnam. His existence is for real. How do we believe that he's there? Do you believe everything that you don't see? No? Yes or no? wants to get $100? Okay, here. You see it? Okay. So give it back to me 100 when the class is over. But I'm not going to take something that I can't see. Is that fair enough? But we can't see him. Where does he live? Everywhere. So always, sometimes we're pointing it out and we're saying, the Lord is up there. Does that mean he's not in here? Yes or no? He's inside us too. But we're asked to believe something we can't see. Can you give me 2 examples of things that we still don't see, we still believe that they exist? What's the first example? Air. Can you see it? We can't see it, we still know it's there. We're breathing it all the times. What's the other one? Say it out loud. Gravity. Have you ever dug up the earth and found the gravity? You did? Bring me some in a cup. We know it's there. The scientists have written laws based on that. But we can't see it. So why should it stop you from us believing in God? Just because we can't see Him. Always think about it. There's got to be somebody out there with those exceptional powers, exceptional abilities, who designed and fashioned this wall. How many of you are worried about the moon actually crashing into the earth here next month? Are you worried? But it's not going to happen. Gurmat says all those planetary bodies, the galaxies, the whole entire universe works under the laws of nature. And that even those words are used by science, laws of nature. Whether it's Newton's laws, whether it's Kepler's laws, doesn't matter which laws, they call laws of nature. And whose nature? The Lord Himself. We just figured out some of His guidelines and we use them to make better things. Things that are beneficial to us. And those are laws of nature. But He's like a rosary. He's strung the whole entire universe like little beads in a string. And once He decides to finish it, it's done. That's what some scriptures will tell you. This creation has been created and destroyed. We don't know how many times. Even scientists believe that now. NASA just got a detection of light. It comes out from about 7.5 billion light years away. And they figure it's about the middle of the universe. So it's about 15 billion light years away. That's just a preliminary guess, and there's a give or take about 700 to 800 million light years. We will never find the limits of this universe. But just thinking about the fact that there's got to be somebody who designed, that is who we call the Lord, who operates it in such an efficiency, you don't see planets crashing into each other. We don't even lose a second. The seasons are there. So there's got to be an operator. How do we define God? G stands for? Generator. O stands for? Operator. And D for? Destroyer. He generates this creation, He operates it, and then He destroys it. Why does He do that? How many of you actually played with Legos? How many times you actually build things? Did you build ships, little buildings and stuff like that? And then you decided to do what? Did you keep them? Are they still there? What did you do with them? You destroy them. You take them all apart. Were you crying when you did that? Were you happy when you made them? Were you happy when you're taking it apart? Gurmat says this whole entire creation is like a play for God. Where are the little toys? Where are the little Lego blocks? He created these different color ones, like you got the Legos, the red and yellow and green. He created us different colors, different shapes and sizes. He likes to see his entire creation like a playground. As long as he wishes, he enjoys it, and then he wants to change it. It's recreated. That's all we need to know. We don't have a control. There's nothing we can do to stop it. We can preserve it, but we can't stop it. Kartapur, Satanam. Where does he live? Why? How do you know? Because he's Karta. Karta means the creator. Purk means one who's imbued in his entire creation. Doesn't, just like we have a table or a desk or benches or cars, the person that actually made and manufactured those ones, created those ones, is no longer with that creation. But the Lord stays within that creation. It's never separated from it. Was he ever born? Before that, I'm going to come to Ik Onkar Satnam Kartapur Nirbal. He's fearless. Why is he fearless? There's nobody like him. We defined that. We said he's unique. There's only one of a kind. And there's nobody like him. And certainly nobody's bigger and stronger than him. So who does he have to fear? He's fearless. Nirbad. He doesn't need anybody. And how do we know that? He gives us a chance every day. We talked about this one. How many actually you got up in the morning and you said, "Thank you, Lord, for keeping me alive, kept my heart beating"? How many times the heart beats in a year? We did that calculation right in front of you. Just a wild guess. More than 37 million times. We don't have to make it beat. How many of you actually go home and change your batteries? We don't. I'm glad we don't have to sit on chargers. Right? He keeps it going. 37 million times, more than 37 million times a year. And how many of us actually doing every single action is a good one? How many of you actually swore this morning? No? Well, that's pretty good. How many of you actually gotten angry in the last 24 hours? Don't be embarrassed. Sing. But just because there's the bad stuff that you did God say, "Okay, I'm going to finish you off"? He's not an enemy of yours. He doesn't hate anybody. He gives everybody a fair chance. That's why we call him Nirbad. Would he ever die? Why? Because Guruji told us he's Akal Murad. His personality is beyond the effects of time, which means he was never born, he never was a child, he's never going to grow up to be a teenager. That would have been terrible sometimes. Probably fill the whole wall here with rock music. Yeah? Akal Murad. Is beyond the effects of time. He created himself. When was he born? Ajuni, he's beyond birth and death. He's never born, so he will never die. Guruji says, Jo upajai, so binasai. Whatever is created by him must end one day. That is the reality. Anything that's born must die. And this is the law of nature. So where does he come from then? Can anybody tell me God's mommy and daddy's address? We call it the word SABHA. He created himself. Now this is something, it's just like time and space. It's very difficult to understand that concept. It takes at least about a couple of days just to analyze this one here, but there's evidence and there is guidance given in Gurmani where you can understand how he created himself. How this entire creation was created. And it does not conflict with science. Like I said, science is just a tiny extension of the religion itself. And how do we meet him? Gur Prasad. When we come to the Guru, we seek the guidance, he gives us the knowledge. In simplest form, once you become a perfect citizen, you become a perfect human being, a good person, you will have the realization that there is God inside you, and every time you look into somebody's eyes, you won't say or do anything bad, because you will realize that what? He's also inside that other person too. And God lives in our heart, then it must be his home. We don't want to destroy God's home. We don't want to break anybody's heart. Jap is the first bani, and that's the heading, that's the name. What's our relationship to God? This is a unique quality in Sikhism. Tu mera pita, tu hai mera mata. You're my father, you're my mother, you're my brother, you're my sister, you're my relative. You're everything to me. Then why should I be afraid? How many of you actually feel comfortable when you go home? You're not afraid anymore. If it's dark, you're outside alone, where do you want to run to? A shopping center? West Edmonton Mall? Or you want to go home? Why? Honey? You feel safe because your mom and dad are there. You feel safe. When we will realize that the Lord is our mother and our father, wouldn't we feel safe when we become one with him? And Lord is even considered as the son. It's unique. And this is the universal brotherhood in Sikhism. That's the basis of Sikhism's principles. Ek Gadam, Ek Sati Hum. It doesn't matter if you call yourself a Hindu, or a Muslim, or a Buddhist, even an atheist, or a Christian, or Jewish. We all come from the same Lord, we just decided to give them different names. We talked about this one actually last year. Your father, your mother. What is so unique about the mother? Why is mom so special? Boy, somebody's going to really get it, that one. Why is mommy so special? I know. She not only gives you birth, she also nurtures you. She takes care of you. That's been a traditional role of the mom. That doesn't mean she's restricted to those roles only. And that's unique quality in Sikhism. A woman has the right to do everything a man can. There are no restrictions on anything. It's gender equality. That's one of the pillars. She takes care of us, protects us, does things to make our life happy. And no wonder we call God's creation as Mother Nature. Mother Nature. How many actually call that Father Nature? It's Mother Nature. So this earth is like the mother. Pavan Guru, Pani Pita, Mata, Tata Maha. This earth is like the mother. It gives me shelter, gives me the protection, gives me the food. And the Lord created that for me. And there is actually, we're going to extend the class for another maybe 20 minutes or so. And if anybody's got any questions, feel free to raise your hand and ask. How many times we call India as our motherland before we came over? Mother has a physical existence. And how can we see God? We see Him every day, but we don't realize it. Akal Prabhu does not big thing. Remember we said He lives in every one of us. So when you look at another person, you don't realize it, but that is another one of His creations. One time, the mom and the baby were just single. They were all together. And then there comes a time the baby's born. Just like that, we are part of the Lord. But when we become a separate identity, a human being, we tend to forget, just like quite a few of us forget about our moms. And it's impossible for a baby to describe We'll discuss stories and sakis at a little bit later stage because right now we want to really kind of shorten the class. We're going to discuss those because I'm going to take on every single one of these ones in the next few weeks. When a baby's born, can the baby actually tell about the mom? When you were brought from the hospital, could you tell her name? Did you recognize her? No. Well, what happened when you grew older? If mom is standing among 20 other ladies, can you recognize her? That's what we need to do. Same way we need to grow up spiritually, which means we must seek guidance, we must learn from the Guru, and then eventually, when we grow up spiritually, we start to recognize that Mother, Lord, that God was the Kali Prabhu Samasakti. Just going to display these because I know there are some younger kids here. Sometimes they get a little restless or so. Did Guruji start just another religion? Like I said, it was a way of life. Marya Sikha Jigat Pravesh, Nanak Nirmal Pansla. Guru Nanak propagated a brand new ideology, taking all the good stuff from every other religion, did not bash any of the other religion. So you can continue to worship, but don't fight over it, don't kill people in the name of religion. Do something good for everybody else, because we're all brothers and sisters. And then, remember we talked about attachment converting into unconditional love? This is the proof. And there's hundreds of other examples in there. Guruji calls you ignorant if you don't have a love in your heart. This is the part I wanted to save and then really kind of go over this one here. This is, I'm not the one who's saying it. This is other leaders in the world, recognized personalities, their opinions about Sikhism. Sikhism says, no matter who you are, what faith you belong to, what do you believe in, as long as you're a good human being, the Lord accepts you. So you could be born in a Sikh family, but if you're not a good person, He does not accept you. There is no discrimination from God. We're not Hindus. Most of the time we're mistaken for that, for the Muslims, because we wear the star, the turban. And there has been a lot of discrimination against Sikhs in the United States. There's been some Sikhs been killed after the post 9/11 because they were mistaken for Muslims. And Muslims are not bad people either. It's just that fundamentals take over an ideology and they want to reinforce their own mindset on the rest of us. We have the same situation in Sikhism too. It's all based on the actions, your deeds, what you choose to do. You can call them different names. Guru Granth Sahib Ji does not only contain the scriptures just from the Sikh gurus. There are people that were considered untouchables, low caste in India. There's scriptures from 36 individuals that's in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And they belong to all sections of the society. Now this is the part I want to quickly go over before we conclude, and then I'm going to, for the rest of the class, we'll talk about the 5 Ks when we have the open questions. And this is one of the scholars, the most learned scholar in Hinduism. This person spent his entire life analyzing every one of the Hinduism scriptures and wrote 18 books in their native traditional language, Sanskrit and Hindi. And he ran across the Guru Granth Sahib's, a tiny part of it. And when he read it, he just couldn't stop. He had to keep on reading it. Once he started analyzing it, I don't have a picture, but I have a picture on a hard copy. He actually gave up Hinduism. And he wrote a book. It's only about 20 pages long. And he did his prayer that, Lord, all my life I didn't do anything good, but in the last few days you give me a chance to become a perfect human being. And those are the titles of the books. Scream Scriptures, SIRI Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And the ultimate religion is Khalsa. In Hinduism is traditional to shave your head and not wear that many clothes. If you see his very last picture before he passed away, he was like a fully decorated Sikh. And this is another quotation from a person that you actually recognize. Who's that person? Adi? Dalai Lama. And this is one of the most significant that I kind of run across. You can read it. George Bush. And this person, Pearl Esbach, is a Nobel laureate. And she concluded based on studying various other scriptures and religions. And this was her conclusion. And she thought these ones were written maybe thousands of years ago, when she realized that the origin went back to only 1469. So at this stage, I had another one on this one here because British used to rule India for a long time. And then Sikhs actually comprise more than 15% of the India's army, the fourth largest standing army in the world. And we only make up less than 2% of India's population. The spirit of the warrior is instilled from the day you're born as a Sikh. Not a brutal person, but a warrior. And Sikhs have fought and been killed probably in the largest numbers in every single war that India has fought. And as a matter of fact, in the Second World War, there's over 100,000 Sikhs that were killed. Not fighting in India, not fighting in Pakistan. They were fighting in Germany, in Italy, in France. They're fighting for the Allies. And they actually written letters home that this is my sacred duty as per the teaching. So I'm willing to die, so don't remember me and don't cry over me. Even in the British Army, Saragarita, even today they celebrate those 21 Sikhs that actually stood up against over 10,000 Taliban-style Afghans that attacked a British post. And they fought till the last man died. And it's commemorated every single year in the British forces. And as a matter of fact, even now, Sikhs are serving both in Afghanistan, in the Canadian forces, and the U.S. Marines. They were serving in Iraq. And the latest one is in Democratic Republic of Congo. Guess who's heading the UN mission? It's a Sikh general. So they're all over. Anyway, we're going to conclude at this stage here. Again, being